So last time I didn't have folding working, and I figured out what was going on was it was uploading this whole QDrant storage to Git, and there's like thousands of files in here. So I think that just stopped us from being able to fold the thing, which is, learn something new every day. So we need to run the Docker server, which I think I have here somewhere. Yeah. So this is going to run the Docker run folder, which is great, on a endpoint. Awesome. So last time we played with the QDrant API, we got list collections and we got our test collection in here, right? So when I run try it out execute, it will return the test collection. And then we want to get all of our points in our collection, we can say try it out, and then we can put test in here and then execute it, and we can see an error. JSON deserialized error. Data did not match any variant of untagged and none with payload interface line 6 at 26. Oh, right, because I don't have this ID 0. I just have that other ID. Right. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I wonder, it would make sense for this to just run on any ID list, right? Like, okay, so maybe if I get rid of IDs and then execute it again, I don't know what that means. Let's reset it. But I think I do have this ID in here, this ID that they came up with. Because like if I go here and say test and then give it this ID, that works. Like we have our vector in here, we have our payload and the ID. So it's in there. I just don't know exactly how to get at it. But now we actually need to focus on getting this QDrant data and a interop with it in Node.js. So let's see if they have actually let's do search first. Okay, so if I can search with a vector, well, I want to put a few more documents in there. So yeah, we may as well just do the, let's see. Okay, so we have our point collection, name points, snapshots, cluster, recommend, delete clusters, collections. So they have like collections in their Swagger documentation, but they don't have like a way, I guess, to do searching, because you can get points directly. Search points. Okay, here we go. Okay, kind of interesting. So let's say that we want to do, that's kind of interesting. So we have like filters for radii and stuff. I don't know if I need that right now though. I might just go back to the quick start and then, well, because we're just doing curls, we can just use Axios is probably the easiest way of going about it than like kind of using creating a node. Yeah, so let's do that. Okay, so let's copy this for create collection, this put request. So we can go back to Visual Studio Code, go back into, let's make a new file called QDrant factory.ts. And then in here, we'll put our curl for creation. And then we need to require Axios. So let's import Axios from Axios. And then let's call this one create collection. And now we should be able to just have Axios do it or Copilot do it. Okay, so that looks right to me. Now let's go back to the watering well, and get our other methods too. Let's get rid of the sidebar here so we can get that on full screen. Okay, so let's go back to VSC again. Okay, so now we need to see if our collection exists. So test for collection. Crazy. This Copilot stuff is really nuts sometimes, I tell you. Okay, now we're going to do one for add points to collection, and then let's just do this, and then we're going to have it do it again for us. Wow, it does the points. It didn't do the payload though, so we might want to add, oh no, I guess that's in the points themselves. Like the points have a payload object inside of them. So it was right, I was wrong. AI, man. Okay, so now we can do search. Okay, so now we're going to say search with an optional search points with an optional filter, search points with query and an optional filter. And then let's just grab that in here and do that, and then just do this. I kind of wanted it to do optional, take optional a little bit more seriously than it did there, because like I have the collection, I have the top number, but I want the filter to be a not required. So maybe I can say if data filter exists and add it as a key after the instantiation, like that. I feel like every day I'm gonna get on Twitch, I'm gonna have to ban like 6 bots. Super annoying. I wish they would deal with this bot problem. It's not even like I have viewers. Like it may as well just not give me bots to kind of like fill the room. I don't know. Super annoying, man. And then I have to like go through and ban them and do all that song and dance. Ain't nobody want to do that. Okay, I think we can just export these functions and then see if we can run a query against the insert ones. Okay, so these are already exported, so that's great. So let's go to instead of calling main on twitch.tv, which built our JSON file, we're going to have a QDrant main function. So yeah, here's our query, and then the rest of it is where this is, right? So let's import star as QDrant. All right, let's just do the manual. Search points, create collection, add points. So we just need add points and search points right now. Add points, collection exists, and search points from the QDrant factory. And now I want to split up this main function a little bit so that it's more usable by other functions. That's not what I wanted to do. So let's say that let's like extract this as a function, I guess. Yeah, let's extract this as a function. So to extract something as a function, you can hit the refactor and it'll automatically break it into module scope. And then we can name it create file name embedding. Scores implicitly has an any type. What does scores look like? Math.max, any number. So we can just call it number. And now we have a function somewhere. Oh, here it is. Create file name embeddings, which returns the file embeddings and takes in a score. We should also return scores. I might move these to their own file with refactor as well. Okay, I think that I should do this outside the function. So let's move this to its own as well, own function. This is a new window, by the way, which is pretty cool, but not what I want. It's weird that it won't let me turn this one into a function, but it let me do the other one as a function. Like it let me change the other one. So I could surround it, I could format, when I hit refactor though, show disabled. Why can't I extract it? I guess I just do it manually. Const embed query. Yeah, and then let's just paste this. What the fuck? I mean, I could make just the embedding function its own function, but query and I'm lazy. I was gonna say query and files could be slightly different, but it's really not. It's calling the same thing, but there's like a world where I don't know. I have them at the same function, but I'm just kind of lazy. Ugh. Okay, so create file name embedding takes in the OpenAI API as a. That's good actually. I think I want to do more of that. Let's say that the const query embedding. Yep, is that. And I actually do want to pass OpenAI to this object because I think that that's a good idea. Okay, what do we have now? So query embedding, query response.data.data 0 embedding, because the query is going to be one long. With the query embedding, we're writing the file. We don't need this log anymore. Okay, so let's like say that we want to write to QDrant collection. And then let's say that we get our, okay, wait, the collection exists. Await collection exists. All right, let's just say that this is does collection exist. And then let's do that here. And the collection should exist if QDrant factory create collection response.data. So let's say that response.data is not equal to null, I guess is probably the better way of doing that. I'm trying to think of the best way of doing this. So this create file name embeddings is going through our list of files, creating embeddings, and then actually it doesn't even need scores, does it? Like why would this have scores at all? Oh, well, I guess it's being compared to the query embedding in real time. Let me draw this out so I can get a good idea of, I think last time I had a list of steps that I wanted to go down, but this QDrant thing kind of changes stuff a little bit, right? Alt 8. Alt 7, bro. Oh, OBS is doing it again. OBS, come on, man. Okay, so let's see what we had last time in the Excalibur. Let's close the calendar. Let's change our sort order to modified time. So last time we said that we want to collect all file names from a directory, embed each file name, embed the query, choose the closest matches, go into those finals, and embed the document text as sentence level embeddings if chunk if required, and then choose the best match per document. document. So we have this pretty much done. We know that we can do this. We know that we can do this. And we know that we can do this. But now I need to do it all again with QDrant, basically. So we have to collect all of the file names and add them to QDrant. So let's say that we say that collect all file names from a directory, add each result to QDrant, run QDrant search. That makes sense, I guess. No, that makes sense, I think. So I think for this create file name embedding, I am going to just, let's just say that this is create file name embeddings, plural. And let's say that this is create a vector embedding for each file and compare score in, in real time. Because now I'm thinking that, again, I just kind of want to separate out this logic before I put everything in server and kind of like make a bunch of different calls from server. I'm just trying to think of the best way to do that. So we have this embed query, which looks good. Let's say that we have our engine, or our model is actually probably the one that we want to do here. And we can say that that's this as a default. And then we could just shorten this to embed that. And because we do want the query, we want, yeah, okay. So then we can say like, because there could be multiple embeddings. So let's make another embedding function that's basically going to be the same thing, but it's going to be embed multiple. Even though, wait a second, I guess I was just still returning the first embedding. I wasn't really doing it as a list of strings in my input. So maybe we should just get rid of embed multiple and just call it regular embed. Yeah, let's just do that. And then we can get rid of a lot of stuff here. So embed query, and then we'll just call this the response from create embedding, and we'll change these query response to response. And then we're just going to returns the first embedding. We can say accept a single string and return a vector embedding. I guess though I'm like keep like backtracking on like the best way of doing this. But this is fine for now, but I'm trying to think probably it would be better to have the array of like just do an array object, right? Because if I have like a bunch of inputs anyway, where these are like the embeddings, and then I have my not output, but like my query that we're gonna put into the QDrant database. So we have like the QDrant over here, and I think that we would not get rate limited, but I have to check the documentation. Okay, the maximum length of input text is 2048 tokens. How many can I send in the array? Making requests. Embeddings. String or array. Encoded as a string or an array of tokens. Oh, okay. To get embeddings for multiple inputs, pass in an array of strings. Unless you are embedding code, we suggest replacing new lines. I guess I could just do it all in one call. You know what? Hell with it. 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 Let's just call this embeddings. Let's just say that this query is a string array, and we can just always do the 0 if we want to. And let's just return the response.data.data. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then we have our if statement here, which is great too. And then we can get our embeddings object, which is going to be create embeddings inner, which has index object embedding. So this main function is pretty much right up shit lake. So I'm just going to comment out so I don't have to like think about it right now, and minimize it so I don't have to look at it. And we can just focus on making our embeddings call and getting all of our vectors into QDrant. And then we can run an example search, and then we can kind of do like upserting and all the other things that we need to do for our database, which is going to be poggers. Okay, so let's say that we have our so we don't even need to do that, right? Like we can just say if collection doesn't exist, then we throw collection does not exist, right? But we don't even need, we can just do this, and then we can say that this collection name is actually a global, right? And then we can get rid of this line too. And then we need to get our list of embeddings, and then we need to take those embeddings and put them in with their payloaded object. So up here we have the embeddings function, which is going to be returning our response.data.data from the create embedding object, which is great. But we also want to probably surround this in a try catch so that if it errors, we can know what went wrong. And there is a thing for that, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I guess I could use this required error object. How's that not a field name? Constructor field message? Yeah, that's not what we want. Whatever. Back to any. I feel like my brain is like jelly right now. I'm trying to think about what I need to do next, and I keep getting stuck. Write to QDrant collection. Collection does not exist. I don't know if we need to write. Okay, so we need to get our embeddings, right? That was the next step that we needed to do. And we are getting our embeddings from this function, which is returning response.data.data. So maybe I can, well, no, I don't want to duplicate it because it's already going to be a bunch of fucking data. So I could do, I guess I could do, yeah, for const file files, but like I'm trying to remember like how the best way of doing this. So let's pass in a file names string array of actually, let's just do files, which is going to be, well, we're just doing the file names. Yeah, we're just doing the file names, which is a string array. And then we throw our error, and then we need to get the embeddings for each file. So let's also call this create embeddings. It's actually data, right? Because we're creating our embeddings data, and then we actually need to get the embeddings from that. So map is actually pretty nice because I'm pretty sure that was the QDrant function, right? We have the points that we have to add points to this collection, and then it comes in this form of ID vector payload. Okay, so let's do that. So we have our created embeddings, and then we got to get the embeddings from, okay, so for each point in data, let me just log what data is so I can kind of see what's going on here. And then let's create a new tab, and then like let's run this and see where we're at. Okay, we got an error already. Oh wait, no, it's good. No, wait, it's not good. No, wait, it's good. No, wait, it's not good. I don't know if it's good or not. Wait, what? Oh, that's the problem. We don't have this thing. Okay, and now we need to do write to QDrant collection. Just get all the file names. What Axios failed with a 404 unhandled rejection. We are passing in the OpenAI global object. I'm gonna log the whole error here. Is it in here? It doesn't even look like it's in here. Promise is 288. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Oh, this collection exists call. Right. Okay, so let's log this response. Maybe just any response would be great. Okay, let's wrap it in a try catch, I guess, maybe. What? Oh, okay. 67 unexpected export add points. Oh, there's a somewhere if filter. Okay. Oh, okay. So we got the right error. We got the collection does not exist error, which is what we were looking for. I keep forgetting that I have these stream markers, and I'm gonna regret it Sunday when I have to go through all these fucking VODs as I haven't been stream marking. Okay, so let's say that response.data.result. What? We got a bad request? Why? That was the request you told me to make. Website, Swagger UI, collections, collection name. And if I do like does not exist, what does this throw? A 404. Okay, that's fine. Maybe if I do test, so collections, yep, does not exist. 200. Oh, you know what? I'm not doing the JSON. Damn. No, I think that's just a res.json, right? Like if I'm just getting this URL, then do I need to do headers? Okay, wait, let's try test. Okay, so it was that, but we don't want it to throw an error. We just want it to return false. So what we're gonna do is, what was this? How did I, okay, console.log error dot, maybe like status, undefined, error dot response. Okay, that's better. Dot status. Okay, cool. So if error response status is equal to 404, return false. Great. Could be unknown, but I don't really care about that, do I? So I guess that if it doesn't return a 404, then it's just return true, right? Okay, cool. We can move on. So if we have our collection name as OpenAI or test or whatever, then we check to see if it exists, and then we create these embeddings, and then we're printing out each embedding here so I can get a good idea of what I'm up against. And that was the test collection. So we can call test, and then it will have the index of what it embedded. Okay, so let's say that we do D. What's the Lodash function for joining two arrays? Lodash zip, maybe? All right, so it ain't gonna work at all. Huh, amazing. So Lodash has this zip function, and I think I'm gonna use that for what I'm trying to do here. I think zipping the two arrays of the file names and stuff like that will make it easier for me to turn it into what I need it to be for the QDrant API. So we have this object embedding. We have this basically this object here. So now we're gonna say that, like, I think Lodash is already installed. Yeah, Lodash is already installed. So here we're going to import zip from Lodash. And then over here, we're going to zip that up, these points up with the array and the file names. So let's say that we're going to, I guess we could just do that. Yeah, we could just do that. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So we have a Golang file, Elgato Stream Deck, NASA, Chocolate Milkshake, John Adams, George Washington. And they all embedded super quick because it was just one API call and it was super fast. And these are all 2048 long, I imagine. Let's see how many more are in here. Yeah, 1948. And then this looks like, 100 or so items. Okay, so right to QDrant collection. We now have a zipped list of IDs, but we don't want ID numbers probably. Or do we? I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. So we can convert this to vector format. So QDrant format, points.map, ID, embedding, and file name. This is close. I think what do we need for this? Add. We just want a list of points with ID, vector, payload. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Let's run it, see what happens. I honestly don't think this is a test thing anyway, so may as well see what happens. Okay, so it is looping. Why is it looping? Okay, so what the hell? Okay, so we either have a billion in our QDrant thing now. So like if I go back to QDrant Swagger and then I go here, retrieve multiple points, search points, recommend points, count points. Okay, let's do count points maybe. And then let's do tests. And let's not do a filter because we don't really need a filter. Maybe an empty filter. Okay, yeah, but then why is it restarting no daemon? Hey, I found you through YouTube. What made you try out QDrant? Oh, hey, welcome, by the way. I basically have tried, sorry, I'm going to pause this music that I'm listening to. I can't focus on too many things at once. I decided on QDrant because I've played with Pinecone in the past and I've played with Text AI in the past, and they're all good at different things. I just kind of A, wanted to try QDrant, and B, I wanted something free and easy that other people would be able to use too. What I mean by that is that like Pinecone, for example, has like a pretty steep price to start, and this project that I'm working on, if you're not familiar, through the YouTube, is I'm working on building an embedded search for Obsidian. And this is going to be mainly for, me to run and have and kind of like show other people how to do it too. But I want it to be easy for other people. And it seemed like QDrant has the most straightforward API to satisfy the requirements of a mobile first fast embeddings database. Does that make sense? But this is my second day exploring it. So if you have any better recommendations, I'm all ears. But so far in the code base, I've been able to, with the help of Copilot, I've been able to create where'd my mouse go? Oh, wow. Hold the phone. My computer just like froze. Wait, hold up. Okay, there we go. Phenomenal. Does that answer your question though? While I'm debugging my computer setup here and figuring out why everything is frozen. That's weird. I think it might be Visual Studio Code then. That makes sense. QDrant is something that I'm definitely going to take a look at. Yeah. It looks pretty good. I mean, I don't have too much of a strong opinion one way or another. I will say, like, if you are just getting into the vector embedding space, Text AI is a pretty good library. I really like the thought process behind what the leadership did at Text AI. So I think if you're looking for a very solid, reliable vector library to kind of just input vectors, but my case is a little bit specific because it's a very specific kind of setup, right? Like we have a lot of things that we're trying to juggle. We're trying to juggle our embeddings. See, now my keyboard works. Whatever. We're trying to juggle a lot of different file types, basically, in this like document versus sentence level embedding. And because of the way that Obsidian stores file types, it's just not really convenient to be able to do sentence level embeddings because there's just way too much. See, now my keyboard, what's going on here? Yeah, so sentence level embeddings doesn't just make that much sense with Obsidian. So I think the thing that I decided on doing was using document level file embeddings, like file name embeddings, and then gonna go through that and just like have that be the search. So basically this whole experiment is now, can we embed a bunch of file names? files? Can we store that? Can we search that with our phone? And then can we have an optional second ask to the embeddings to embed a file in real time? So you can imagine that, like, for you and me, we see 0902 and our brains immediately say September 2nd. So if we said, instead of typing in 2022 0902, you could type in September 2nd, and then this file would come up. And then you can imagine like a little query box that pops up and says, would you like to search within the file? And you're like, yeah. And then it'll like go through and turn all of these into sentences and then put those in. So I hope that makes sense too. But now I need to figure out why my keyboard stopped working. And it's like every time I type, it like freezes my computer, which is weird. And I don't know why. Is it like an OBS thing, or is it like a Chrome thing? Maybe I'll refresh this QDrant thing, and then I will close out of Visual Studio Code and reopen it, I guess. How are you doing, by the way? Oh, sounds like a really cool project. Have you looked into semantic tagging? Could probably help with the real-time aspect of things. Yeah, actually, I was interested in potentially using GPT-3 to generate the tags themselves and have those tags be the only thing that's like searched against. But again, there's so many trade-offs, right? Like it depends on what you're trying to search. I'm trying to imagine it in a way where it's kind of like you can imagine like searching on Google for something. But you know, Google has a whole squad of engineers who just figure out crawling and all of those problems. But being able to just kind of like hop into an Obsidian file and find the exact thing that you're looking for, actually, in my opinion, it is relatively difficult if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. So I'm just trying to decrease the activation energy from that to this, and then move over to a cooler, more fun project. But this project has been like burrowing in the back of my head, so I've wanted to kind of like get something out. Are you interested in like the AI space? It sounds like you know a lot about semantic stuff, and I'll get back to coding once I figure out why my keyboard isn't working, but I need to do that first. Okay, there goes my keyboard. Oh, it's lagging so much though. Okay, so my keyboard is working now, but it's lagging like crazy, but it might just be enough to get out the door. So what had happened just now is that I wrote this write to QDrant collection function. And basically what this does is, I'll run through it really quickly. It checks to see if the collection exists. Oh wait, hold on. You can't see that. My OBS is tripping. Code. I do some ML work, but primarily a back-end engineer, dabbling with NLP tasks related lately. That's awesome. It does seem like all of ML is quickly becoming NLP, huh? In some shape or form, with all this stuff that's going on with image to text and stable diffusion, DALL-E, and the GPTs of the world and stuff. But it's cool that back end, you know, development. Like I really like back end. Are you a Go or a Rust or a Node.jser, or like what's your tool stack of choice? Okay, it looks like it's working now. It's everything functional. Okay, so it's Java and TypeScript. Oh wow, yeah. TypeScript's great. I like TypeScript a lot. Sometimes the most annoying part about TypeScript is how, at least in my opinion, how heavily reliant JavaScript is on objects that are of the any type, because they're just like, you know, required from Node or something. And usually you don't worry about that when you're writing JavaScript, but it becomes a huge problem in TypeScript, because then you have to make all these interfaces. And then if you change a single thing, you have to go back and change like a bajillion interfaces. All languages have their problem. I haven't played with Java in a long time. Is Java still, last I played with Java was like right after Kotlin came out. So I guess it was like, what, 2017? Is everybody still using Spring Boot? I remember that was a big thing in the Java space when I was a Java engineer. And thank you also, by the way, for watching the YouTube video. This channel that I'm building is going to be pretty niche, but I think the stuff that we can come to expect from this creation of Obsidian and PKM in action is going to be relatively novel. But I would love to hear kind of like, you know, what you're interested in and what people are interested in, because I'm basically just going to try and build the coolest PKM thing that I can on stream and also just dive into just random fun topics. So if there's anything that, you know, interests and intrigues you, please do let me know, because I'm looking for any good kind of direction. Anyway, so this write to QDrant collection just checks if the collection exists. It runs this create embeddings, which runs the OpenAI embeddings on the file names, and then we map each of these points. We turn them into QDrant formatted points. This is where I just left off before Docker Docker just blew up. So I'm going to restart the Docker. Oh, Java's grown on me a lot. Spring is definitely a major player, but I'm convincing my employer to unspringify some projects. Java can be incredibly performant if you let it. I actually use quite a bit of Clojure for my ML work. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think that I've heard a lot of really good stuff about Clojure for sure. Clojure, seems to be in a lot of ways the spiritual successor to Haskell. Clojure's the curried one, right? Or is that Scala? Is it Scala or Clojure? I think they both kind of have functional programming, right? Don't they? You can do functional programming with Clojure, right? Spring is definitely Clojure is like a Lisp like lang. Yeah. That's awesome, and I'm super glad to hear that like Clojure is that Lisp and Haskell and functional programming languages have made their rounds, because they definitely I don't know, I'm conflicted. Like, what do you feel about, like, I feel like when I write in functional programming languages, I am more one with the machine in like a Zen way, but I think that like I also have the very real reality in the back of my head that like I don't know if anyone else is going to be able to read this. Right? Like like functional programming it's been niche for decades, right? But it's always been around. It's like always in the shadow of object oriented. And I know Dennis Ritchie is out there somewhere, just talking about OOP and stuff like that. But it's funny to imagine, like, especially now that we're going into like more ML. Like, as you can see here, I have Copilot installed on this machine, so everything that I have writing code can also add these suggestions. So it's like you can technically write, quote unquote, in any language better than you could before these ML tools existed. So I want to know why NoDaemon, maybe I want NoDaemon just to work in a specific directory, because NodeMon keeps doing stuff that I just can't predict, and I don't want that. NoDaemon only watch one directory, watch source server.js. Okay, so NodeMon I want to change in my package.json file, because I have concurrently running, and then this should just be watching this dist index.js file is what I thought it was doing, but maybe that's not the case. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these TS files and move them into a source folder, and then this source folder will be where I do all of my work. Update. That's fine. Okay, great. Now in Chrome, it says that we can do NoDaemon watch source server.ts. As right now, we just have this dist index.js. So maybe I'll just change that to watch the source changes in the source file. So let's say that, and then, well, we still need to run, wait a second, what? We still need to run this file, the index.js though. So maybe this is like a grep thing. Okay, so now I don't want to lose control of my keyboard again, because that was crazy. But let's do npm run dev, and then I'll kill it if it starts resetting. Can't find source. Okay, what you mean by that though? Node watch source. Okay, yep. Cannot find this source. And it's right there though. Oh, does it have to be the nodemon watch and run tsc compiler? All right, let's try this guy's code, this watch server, and then this is going to watch anything in the source directory, and then do tsx exec ts node on index.ts, right? This is what we want. And then I'm going to close this, and I'm going to do npm run watch server, and it crashed because I don't have ts node, but I do have tsc, but I shouldn't need, oh, well, that's great. It created a bunch of files that I didn't want. Oh no, now it's using a different ts config file. Oh man, that's a bummer. Okay, so my thought process is that this watch source ets tsx exec tsc thing just didn't work. That's my thought process. But I think what I can do is I can just get rid of all of these files, and then we'll be fine. So I'm gonna get rid of this file, and I'm gonna get rid of this file and delete these. Okay, so we need a little bit of a smarter nodemon here, because what was happening is that there's some file in this directory that nodemon was picking up on and was causing an infinite loop. I do have a nodemon ignore thing here where I have file embeddings.json, and I should maybe add in just the directory for QDrant storage. Can I do that? Because if I can do that, that would just be great. Because then I could just go back here and change this back to index.js, and I could just run npm run dev again, and please don't crash my computer. Okay, nothing's crashed yet, but I don't know if I'm actually calling anything. Okay, I am. Okay, I still get to use my keyboard, but it seems that it's stuck on this watching for file changes now. Oh, I guess I did move it into source, so I have to go back into the package JSON and say that, or I'm in the tsconfig JSON, and change the root directory or the base URL. Which one is it? Base URL. Specify the base directory to non-relative module names. Okay, so let's do this one, and then we'll call it source. All right, let's try again. Server dis.server.js. Okay, so now if I change this to like plus points added, okay. However, it's not doing anything. Console writing to QDrant collection. Okay, so now this isn't showing up at all. Is it root dir or base URL? So that's kind of interesting. Hold on, I'll just Google it. TypeScript source directory. Maintain source folder structure when building to dist folder. Root dir source. Root dir source include source. The structure under root dir is what's mirrored under out dir. So in Visual Studio Code, that means that we don't have we don't have that. I don't know what it's talking about. TSCW. Okay. I think I need to build again. Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think I need to run build because I changed my tsconfig. Okay, now let's try it. So my dist didn't change at all. This one does have the writing to QDrant collection, yet in the package.json, oh my god, I'm running server.js. So cringe. Oh geez, holy fuck. Okay, then I have to rerun it. Okay, cool. So it only ran it twice, which is better. So now if I go back to, and I still have access to my keyboard, which is great. So now if I go back to QDrant, we see here that operation ID is 16. If I go back to QDrant and I check out the Swagger UI, then we check for ID 0 under the test directory. So we have test, and then we're going to run it on 0, and we're going to hit execute. Oh, yo, George Washington, let's go. Nice. I hit the hell out of my mic. Run number 1, John Adams. 2, chocolate milkshake. Perfect. Hell yes. Hell to the yes. That's a really good deal that we have now. We have our vector, we have our payload. Now we want to run search in Visual Studio Code. And then after that, I'll probably call it. How long have I been left? 2 hours? I don't know. I might do more. It depends on how I feel after that. Okay, so now let's search. Let's comment this out and let's search. Actually, let's commit this. All of this is public, by the way. This GitHub repo is public on my github.com/Bramsies if anyone is interested in checking out the code. So I am very bad at commit messages. QDrant edition factory. I just do the QDrant factory, and let's just commit that. Save all, commit. I just did that. Push those. Okay, so now I'm going to search a query, and we're going to find the closest one, and it's going to be the right payload because we use the right distance formula, and it's going to be great. It's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. So let's say search QDrant const search QDrant collection with our query. We have to check if the collection exists. Perhaps Copilot will just write this whole thing for me. We create embedding of a query. We get the query vector. Then we search points and we log the result. Yep. Await search points. Expected 3 to 4 arguments. But got to collection name is test. Wait, collection name is out here. Yep. Okay. And then the string vector, and then top number 1. Okay, top number is 1, and then we don't need a filter. So let's just say 1, and then we're going to do search points, search QDrant collection for, let's say, a dessert, delicious drink, ID 2, payload null, score 0.75. So it's good except the payload being null. So maybe we can say the first president, the first US president. Okay, so why is the payload null though? Like, this is good except the payload and vector being null. Vector top response dot data result 0. Okay, so why is the vector null? Well, let's go to Chrome. Let's go to QDrant's documentation and find out. Search cosine similarity, dot similarity, Euclidean distance, all really good stuff. But how do we get the payload? Why is the payload null? Where's the payload? Filter by score. Negative vectors is an experimental functionality that is not guaranteed to work with all kind of embeddings. Neat. Bro, why is the payload null? Just tell me that. I don't care about any of this. Vector search, filter, params, and then this comes up with vector similar to this. Okay, yes, right? ID 10. Okay, maybe I should just, oh, payload and vector in the result. Oh, I have to do this with vector with payload thing. There it is. Okay, so Visual Studio Code, swappy swap, and then I'm gonna go up to the function that's totally right here, and I'm totally gonna remember exactly what it told me to do. That's exactly what I'm planning on doing. I think that should be fine. All right, save. Boom, let's go. Oh, dude, that's great. Now we need to see what's inside of the payload. Res dot result, wait, res dot result 0 dot payload dot file name. George Washington dot text. Who is the first president of the United States? George Washington dot text. And you can even spell it weird, like super wrong like this. Watch. So like I can be like United Stays, you know what I mean? Or something like this. And it's still going to return George Washington. George Washington. Like that's the power of semantic text. Like if there's any argument for semantic search, it's just what I just showed right there, where you search the first president of the United States one, and it still comes up with George Washington. That's like a very impressive ability. All right, so what's the next thing? That was like the main thing that I wanted to accomplish, to be honest with you. I might get rid of this function because I don't need it anymore. I guess I need to put these on a server. Beast gonna set up QDrant locally later and mess around with the repo. Thank you. Yeah, dude, this was what 145 lines to do this search, which was pretty cool. And most of it is just still like imports and stuff. Like really the only stuff that's being used is this OpenAI create embedding. So I'm like creating an embedding, there's logic that's happening here, then I'm returning that response data, and then there's a main function that I'm probably going to throw away where I was doing like score comparison, but I don't really need to do score comparison anymore, so I can just get rid of it. So now we're down to 125 lines, and we wrote these to the file collection by just creating the embedding by mapping our file names and just getting the file name, and then putting that into the searching it with the QDrant collection. So actually that was very easy. Almost too easy. I hate it when things are almost too easy, because then you get like, not cocky, but like you're like, it's like lulled into a false sense of security is probably the best way. So like, you know, I can show you the file names too. And actually I think a fun thing tomorrow, if you have any query for any of these that's like kind of off the cuff. So like, what would you say for like looking at this list right here from a human to another human? What would you want AI to search to match against like George Washington or chocolate milkshake or NASA or Elgato Stream Deck? Do you have any suggestions? Like dessert, or you know 1700s, or like it could literally be anything. Space, Mars, who was the man in the boat? Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, because the painting of George Washington. Let's do that. Let's first I'm gonna break it with because like it's just been returning George Washington, so we know that it's George Washington. So I'm gonna do Twitch just to make sure that it returns something different, and then we can do George Washington. So we'll do Twitch, and then we get Elgato Stream Deck, and now we can make sure that we get the right one. So who is the man on the boat? George Washington. It worked. Look at that. We got George Washington.text. And like, yeah, isn't that crazy? And that was again in like 120 lines of code. Like that wasn't really that hard. The next part is that I want to run this on like a bajillion files. So that's the next hard part, is that I need to figure out how to basically get it to just go through any directory that's given, and then just like, cause I don't know, index all these files, do some upserting stuff. Yeah, damn, right? Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Like that's like pretty crazy that I got George Washington first go. And this is actually one of the smaller engines. So the one that I'm using from OpenAI is called Babbage, and I can show you on here on Chrome. So this is actually only 2048 dimensions. If we went up to DaVinci, we can get 12,000 dimensions, which is really crazy. Like that, it gets more expensive the higher engine you use. But like we just said, who's the man in the boat? But we could get super weird with it. We could be like, who's the man with like who is like 15 presidents before Abraham Lincoln or something like that, and it would would probably get that. Actually, let's just try that one. I think that's a fun one. Let's say, well, what, John Adams was the second president, right? Hold on, let me see. John Adams. Okay, so John Adams was the second US president, right? And Abe Lincoln was the 16th president of the United States. So let's go to Visual Studio Code here. Let's go to our index search and let's say who was the president, 14 presidents before Abraham Lincoln. We don't want the then. Copilot's getting a little antsy on me. So this one should return John Adams, right? Because we said 2 minus 14. Return George Washington. Cringe. Maybe who was the president after George Washington? Let's try this one out. That's interesting. Does it have John Adams? Did I actually put John Adams in there? Let me say just John Adams then. John Adams. Who was the second president? That's interesting. It's like has a very strong. I wonder if I up this to 2, what I get. And then let's go to 1 here. That's interesting. Console.log res. Let's see what the whole response looked like. So this is like our scores. Who was the president? Will you get it? Who was the president before Jeff? Yeah, we could try that. Who was the president? I think honestly, personally, I think because we're on a smaller engine, George Washington has a lot of stuff written about him, right? John Adams doesn't have nearly as much stuff written about him. Like John Adams was like a pretty, like what, like let's go back to Chrome, for example, and let's say that it was trained off the web, right? So we have 11 million results for Abraham Lincoln. If I go to George Washington, we have how many results? 813 million results. And then if we go to John Adams, okay, show me the number of results, 429 million, which to us is still a bunch, but that's literally half. So I wonder, let's try the Jeff thing, right? Because like you said, Thomas Jefferson, who was the president before Jeff? And technically it could be, maybe we should say right before Jeff. Let's just try it before Jeff and see what it does. So that actually did return John Adams. You were right. That returned John Adams. Oh no, it still did George Washington because this is 0 now. Yeah, that's still George Washington. Maybe we do right before Jeff. It still really likes George Washington, which is interesting. Like I personally think that, you know, with all this NLP stuff, there is a level of expectation management that is interesting because it kind of knows nothing about anything, but everything about something, if that makes sense. So it's like a test in patience as well as being able to understand like the right type of way to ask a question. I wonder if I can spell like the what if I just do the family snap like the Addams family. It came up with Elgato's Dream Day for a 68% match. Wednesday, like Wednesday Addams. This is just kind of fun just searching it. I don't know why George Washington would come up for Wednesday. I have more questions than answers right now, as a matter of fact. But other than that, I think it's kind of like if I did Mars, it should definitely get like NASA, for example. Yeah, NASA. If I do space is like a really common trope programming language. It should say golang.txt. I think the way that I would use this, like I said, in my day-to-day experience and how I expect people to use this is similar to the way that people would use Obsidian search. So like if I'm searching on Obsidian, then I hit this search button, right? And then if I search Leibniz, because my last video, if you watch that on YouTube, was about Leibniz, and I can search Leibniz directly and I can see all of the files where Leibniz is. So I'll probably do the same thing for this type of search, where it's like we search who is the man on the boat, and it's like George Washington, here you go, above a certain threshold of accuracy. But then you could be like, who are the first 5 US presidents? And then you get John Adams, George Washington, like all of those should come up in this file directory, if that makes sense. Okay, now I want to do upserting real quick because that's going to be something that's on my mind. And then I'll see where I'm at in terms of energy, collections, points, upload points, modify points. Okay, so post collections, point, payload, property 1 for these points. So can I get a point by a file name is a question. So retrieve points. I saw in the Swagger that you could do, I want to minimize this, recommend points. That's interesting. Collection, cluster info. There's a lot of stuff about clusters. I don't know what any of this cluster stuff does. I'll be straight honest. I don't a cluster for a collection. I guess you can like put collections, like when you scale to massive sizes, you would have different clusters managing different data sets. But what we want is to get points by a certain filter. The schema is IDs, which is is required. Okay, so we can't really do like a where clause. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of like a SQL type where clause thing, because this one has payload vector, payload values, but there's definitely some filtering stuff that I saw in QDrant. Let me go back to the quick start and then create collection, add points, search with filtering, top 3. So you'd filter the search, but can I do a filter without a vector is the question, or is vector required? Because I could get the ID that way. Like if I can just go to search here and go to the schema, vector is required, damn it. Oh, damn it. That makes things a little bit more complicated. Filtering, points, scroll. Okay, so scroll. Oh, scroll. Okay, so there's a scroll method, scroll points, paginate over all points which meet a filtering condition. Okay, that's great. I want to try this. So let's say that we go to tests, our test collection, and then we say that should oh, there's so much stuff in here. Okay, let's get rid of this stuff. You know what? I'm just gonna write it. It'll take me longer to get rid of this. Okay, must key city match value London. Okay, so let's do this. Let's retrieve by file name, and we'll copy this, and we'll just have Copilot do all the writing for us. Sounds good to me. So back in VSC, we're going to go to our QDrant factory here, and then we're going to add a new function that says scroll collection for file name, and then I'm going to paste in this guy, and then we're gonna do this and file name string. No. Yes. Oh, I need the collection name. Okay, but I do definitely need the whole filter. That's kind of the point of this one, but I want to actually just do it as a file name string, because now we want it to find any file name that matches this filter. So let's just say we can just go ahead and go in here and then say filter must key. We don't need this city. Nope. We need file name match the value of the file name, and then close that, and return the response.data. And then I'm going to go into index.ts, and I'm going to comment out the search QDrant collection. And I'm going to say that we want to upsert a file name. So const find QDrant ID by file name. No, scroll points. And we want file name. And then we're just going to log res. No, we don't need that right now. And then we're going to console.log. Oh, wait. We're just going to do the find QDrant. It's async, and it should find chocolate milkshake. Okay, points. Let's see what's in this points object. Res.result.0.points. What's the problem here? Res.result 0, right? What was that, right? No, it wasn't right. Res.result. What was it? Res.result.points. Okay, dot points. Chocolate milkshake.text. So we're cruising. That covers a lot of the main functionality of what the app needs to do. Like if I go back to Obsidian and we go back to the Excalidraw function, we can see that the end object that we want, like the final product, is a search bot that allows us to ask a question like we just did, like who was the president before Jeff, or like who was the man in the boat. And then we want it to search the thing and be like, here are the files that I found that match your thing. And then you can just open that file directly. So, there are some assumptions that your file names have to be pretty descriptive. But usually with like the internet and stuff like that, like titles are pretty descriptive for a page. It won't be doing like control Fing, but it'll be, I think, pretty performant. There are the secondary cases of like, if it doesn't find anything, it just Googles it, which is nice. And I am considering how I want to handle having it search within a file too. So like if we are within a file, but I think that I'm going to worry about that last. So like I'll add an optional box here. Let's just say that like here, and we'll call it, this is the if there's time box. If there is time, then we're going to run a search on the file itself. So use markdown formatter to split data into blocks and embed each individually, and then run query. And I think that that'll be pretty good for what we're looking for.